empty spaces where she should have been. No matter how many times he changed the password, the messages just kept coming. Eventually, she started to say she was cold, really cold. She was freezing and didn't know what was happening to her. To this day, Nathan still doesn't know if this was some sort of sick joke or a chilling message from beyond the grave. In at number 6 now, we have Joseph Metheny. Before our story even begins, Joseph had already killed 10 people in a number of different grisly ways. The victims were usually crack cocaine addicts or prostitutes that he would hack to death with an axe under a bridge. One witness, who was just fishing nearby, got beaten to death with a steel pipe simply for just seeing a murder take place. Joseph was still not caught, and so he opened his own burger stand. Like you do. Now, whenever he killed a new prostitute, he would use the meat in his burgers that he would sell to people. When he was eventually caught and arrested, Metheny told police, "I would also sell real roast beef and pork sandwiches. They were very good. The human body taste was very similar to pork. If you mix it together, no one can tell the difference." Next up, at number 5 now, we have the cell phone stalker. In 2007, a family in Washington State started getting unwelcome calls on their phones. Throughout the night, the calls threatened to kill their children, the grandparents, and the pets. And creepily, they would also get voicemails of their own private conversations, and even one where they were talking to a police detective about this whole thing. Disturbingly, when the phone call's origins were traced, they seemed to come from the family's own phones, even when they were switched off. Their phone company said this should not be possible. At one point, even the neighbor got a call. She was apparently slicing limes in her kitchen when the stalker called and said he preferred lemons. No matter how many times they changed their phones, the calls just kept coming. The stalker was never caught, and in the end, the family said if they go a day without a call, that's a good day. Okay, moving on to the number 4 spot now, we have The Girl in the Box. In 1977, 20-year-old Colleen Stan was kidnapped while hitchhiking from her home in Oregon. Her captors, Cameron and Janice Hooker, took her to the Californian hills and kept her in a sort of coffin-like box. Colleen would often spend 23 hours in this box at a time, only being allowed out to be beaten, raped, and tortured. This went on for 7 years, from 1977 until 1984. At that point, Janice Hooker, one of the captors, finally went to the police and told them everything. Colleen was rescued, reunited with her family, and underwent a lot of therapy to try and live a normal life again. I'm amazed that anyone could do that after spending 7 years locked in a coffin for sometimes 23 hours a day. Next up at number 3, we have the Hinterkaifeck murder. In 1922, an entire family living at the Hinterkaifeck farm in Germany were killed by wounds from a pickaxe. The parents, widowed daughter, her children, and even the housekeeper were all found dead. 4 of them were in the barn and 2 of them were in their beds. Here's the really creepy thing. The murderer apparently continued to live at the farm with the family's dead bodies there for some time afterwards. Police knew this because when they arrived, the animals were still being fed. Neighbors apparently saw smoke coming from the chimney, and also the dog was tied up outside the barn. It gets even creepier. Before their murders, the family had reported hearing footsteps in the attic, seeing footprints in the snow that led from the woods to the house, but not back the other way. And they also saw claw marks on the door of the tool shed where they kept the pickaxe that was used to kill them. The crime was never solved. Coming at number 2 now, we have The Waking Dead. This story comes from Honduras, where a girl called Nacy Perez went into a panic attack after hearing gunshots. When she started foaming at the mouth, a priest was called to exorcise her of an evil spirit. Soon though, she was pronounced dead in hospital and buried in her wedding dress at the cemetery. A day after the funeral, her husband was visiting her grave when he heard banging and screaming coming from inside the concrete tomb. A graveyard worker confirmed hearing the exact same thing. The family arrived, smashed open the tomb and took her to hospital. Her cousin said she put her hand on her body and she was still warm. She had scratches on her forehead and bruises on her fingers. It looked like she had tried desperately to get out of the casket and had hurt herself. She was pronounced dead again at the hospital and buried for a second time. Some people say she didn't actually die the first time and instead might have woken up inside the coffin and died from lack of oxygen. And finally now, at number 1, we have Rodney Alcala. This man is a convicted rapist and serial killer who has been sentenced to death for the murder of 5 women between 1978 and 1979. The scary thing is, it's thought he could have killed as many as 50. Right in the middle of this killing spree, Rodney Alcala was accepted as a contestant on the dating game TV show where men compete for a date with a bachelorette. In the TV footage, it's incredibly disturbing to see this man flirting with women as he had just killed 2 women recently.
I'm called the Banana, and I look really good.
Not long after, Rodney Alcala will go on to kill 2 more women. Horrifyingly, he actually beat the other contestants. The only sliver of light in this dark story is the fact that the woman that he won the date with eventually refused to go on the date with him because she found him creepy. I hope someone studied her superhuman senses because that woman was on the ball. Well guys, what do you think of all of those? Are